You're welcome back. We're moving on to the next conversation. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the last general elections, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has challenged President Bola Tinubu to disclose the full cost of the Lagos-Calabar highway project and to refrain from responding to public inquiry with insults. This followed a statement issued by Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, which on Monday chastised the Atiku for questioning the contract award for the construction of the Lagos-Calabar Highway. In a statement issued on his behalf on Tuesday by his Special Assistant on Public Communications, Frank Shaibu, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party also dared President Tinubu to disclose the full cost of the project. He maintained that the Tinubu administration cannot continue to keep silent on how much of public funds would be spent on the project at a time Nigeria was still facing dire economic challenges. Let's have this conversation with us is Peters Shodinde. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Okay, the Lagos-Calabar highway has raised a lot of dust. It's been in the news for a while now. Nigerians have been reacting to it, especially with the demolitions that would come, demolition of some businesses, on the path of the highway. That it has been a very huge topic of public debate. However, we're focusing on the political end of things, where the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the last general elections, Atiku Abubakar, has called out the Tinubu's led administration to make public the amount of funds that will be spent on this project. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, as at early this morning, actually has dropped a statement. He did mention some monies. I do not have the particular amount on my fingertips right now, but I'm sure we can raise that before we end this segment. But do you think that that is enough? Do you think we should even have to ask that question before these things are brought into the public space?
Okay, I think Atiku actually has his own reason and points for asking those questions, which are germane. It's our money. It doesn't belong to one person. So spending our money, there's not any problem in asking for details about it. But in government contracts and in government businesses, it's best you allow government to give you their figures before you begin to take government up on those figures and begin to criticize them. Apparently, from what the minister had said this morning, he was like telling Alhaji Atiku Abubakar that you are jumping the gun. All your figures you are rolling out, they are very, very wrong. And your guys doing your jobs for you are just doing nonsense. It's better you don't rely on them before you come on air and begin to expose your ignorance of this particular project. So he laid down the figures, from the calculations the Atiku media team gave. It was about 8 billion per kilometer. But Umahi has told us now that it's a lie. It's about 4 billion per kilometer. The initial design was done by NDDC. It was supposed to be 8 lanes. Then the middle is just for water collection. But what they have down is a modification, 10 lanes, 5 here, dual carriage. Instead of water collection, you have a train that goes from Lagos up to Calabar, and it will be done 4 billion naira per kilometer. The 4 billion naira is 58 meters wide, 58 meters above sea level. I think 23 meters wide. You might mentioned quite a lot of things and then said people should wait for them. When they release the full details, then people can come. So for businesses, just like you earlier mentioned, if you listen to what the CEO of Landmark said, he said it's like putting terrorism on steroids. You're just going to ginger terrorism. More people he gets about 3.5 to 4 million customers a year. So with those type of facilities, you'll be getting almost double, because Landmark is like one of the biggest resorts in the whole of West Africa. So, but he's talking about the number of businesses that will be affected, to the number of employees they have. But government has come out to say, initially when this thing was planned, we didn't have Dangote refinery, we didn't have the Lekki deep sea port, the international airport that will be coming there, we didn't have Atlantic City. So, but now that we have all those things, we need to also put them into consideration. So we are going to extend where it is going to start from and make sure that we are able to touch those places too. So that from the Lekki deep sea port, it's easier to convey goods down to almost 10 states across that particular zone. So if you look at the project, all in all, it's a beautiful one. But just like Atiku has said too, whatever the figure comes out to, the government should let people see.
All right, so we've made quite a submission, and of course, I would also want to respond to that. He who responds before he hears, the scripture says, is foolish. So I can understand when the response is that Atiku is jumping the gun before he even gets the brief. But then again, while we are also much expectant on seeing the detailed breakdown as to what will be spent on what, don't you also think that it is quite unprofessional, especially with regards to this current administration, who has a penchant for dishing out reckless statements, even if the citizenry demand for a particular issue? Looking at the last response we got when Atiku also criticized the government, we got a response from Bayo Ononuga saying that he's reacting out of a hangover. Is that supposed to be a response on the altar of press statement from the State House?
Okay, I think I get where you're coming from, and then this is Nigeria, where we mix politics together with our economy, with business, with everything. So, you know, when a politician is talking to another, they have an undertone that you might not see. They know very well that, okay, you that is asking these questions from us, you have an intention, you already have what is in your mind, trying to spur the public against us. So you're trying to play that. If you want to know, you could have easily approached us, we talk about it, then we bring it to the public. But now, the best you have done is before anything, before even confirming anything, just come to the public, you have played dirty. Now you now want us to play clean. To be sincere, I am not for the political angle. I am only for what will happen to those 9 states when this construction actually finishes. It's going to be something very, very, very fantastic. You need to read what even the international community is reacting about this type size of projects in Africa, what it is going to bring. So for Ononuga, Atiku, Obi campaign, they will play their politics. You can never remove that. They will see recently His Excellency Peter Obi did a borehole in the northern states. Then the next thing, the whole internet went. I'm like, what's the problem? The people are in need. He gives them what he has. People start there and see the color, see the thing. You see all these things, you cannot remove them from our politics. They have been there right from the PDP years in 1999 up to where we are today. As we get more matured, as we develop more, maybe we'll start seeing sanity. Like you said, I am not for coming out to insult people because they have asked questions. But sometimes when you ask questions professionally too, you might get a professional response. But when you ask questions in a manner that is already tainted with some form of, maybe you are trying to incite people the way they see it, they will also come out for you like that. That's the political side of it. I don't want us to dwell on that. Let's dwell on the project and the money, our money that is really inside the stuff.
Yes, of course, I agree with looking at the economic end of this, the effect it's going to have on the Nigerian economy. His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar made a point with all the other political things he said. He mentioned that Nigeria currently is going through a very, dire economic situation. It's a lot that we're having to deal with, and we have these type of monies to be dished out for a huge project, a commendable project, by the way. But the question out there, word on the street is, do we have it right now? My father used to say something. He would say, you see me with wads of cash in my hand and you want me to give it to you. Because you're seeing that cash doesn't mean that I have it right now, because it could be for something else. If we have that amount of billions of naira, commendable projects, but aren't there things that are imminent that we need to take care of first before we put our hands into such a serious project? How do you react to that school of thought?
Okay, if you have seen one of the busiest ministers under this administration, I don't think there's any other minister that is as busy as David Umahi. From southwest to southeast to south-south, north central, northeast, northwest. Very busy from one project center to another. Look at the third mainland bridge he just delivered. The financing of this project is counterpart funding. The government drops an amount, then the contractor drops the rest. I think the government is going to drop about 15%, the contractor will drop the rest. And it is going to last for 8 years, cutting across about 10 states. If you do not make provision and tap from the value of this type of infrastructure, it's only deceiving. This infrastructure is not today. It is a project Jonathan handled in 2014. Then it was only rail line. But he couldn't conclude it because he didn't win election. Buhari came. They reviewed it down was from $11.9 billion that Jonathan was supposed to do it. They reviewed it about $11.1 billion, saving about $800 billion. But he also could not do it. But the fact that they could not do that one under Buhari, they were doing rail from Lagos to Maradi. Where's the money? You see, for me, the problem is not the money. If there is a contractor that has said, I will do it, you give me 15%, we'll just introduce toll gate, 50 years I collect my money. So for me, the funding makes that project easier. It is not putting a burden on the country. It is not stopping you from doing all your routes. If other governors and every other people that have deliverables, as in some other road projects, the inner ones, the state ones, if they do their own, you won't have this problem. If everybody believes the federal government is the one that is responsible for everything, but it is not so. It is not so. The federal government is made its own. As per a federal road, federal level, what are the state governors doing? What are the local government chairmen, what are they doing? NDDC, Nigeria, Northern Development, whatever, all these development agencies all these contracts that they come every year to put in their budget, where are the deliverables? Where are the roads? So because they are not doing theirs, everybody thinks, why are you going to do that one instead of you to do this other one? This other one is cutting across 10 states. And you should read about the value instead of trying to just join the bandwagon and then try to, because at the end of the day, it still comes down to us. Is it not even better that you see what they are putting the money to do, that the ones that will tell, look at Lagos-Calabar, 8 years before it could be delivered. So for me, I think people should just calm down. I know everybody is thinking for good, but the fact that we are thinking for good doesn't mean that we should just join anything we see on the papers. We should know. Let's even find out ourselves before we begin to join any bandwagon.
All right, so there is this age-long adage that says he who asks questions doesn't miss his way. So there's no harm in asking questions, except the individual who decides to take the undertone and now decides to read meaning into it. So now, what is, a David Umahi, just as you allege, may be the busiest minister Nigeria has ever had, at least in recent times, looking at the projects he has been, commissioning here and there and all that. Of what economic benefit would a project of that nature be to the average man? For instance, if all of these roads that will be built would not connect to the rural areas where agricultural produce are coming out from, because of course we need to understand the connection between the rural and the urban center. So those who are in the agro-ally industry, how can they be able to get their raw product out of those rural areas to be able to get to the urban centers to hit the market?
Okay, so that is what we have just said before. I was telling you that everything is supposed to be connected. You have a trunk A road, a trunk B road, a trunk C road. Your trunk C roads are your streets within the local government. There are some state roads that are trunk B roads. Then you have the trunk A road, which belongs to the federal government. If the federal government is doing its own and other people are doing their own, it's easier for you. You see, that project is on the coastal line. Don't forget, almost all the states in Niger Delta have fishermen. Fishing is their business, core of their business. Even agriculture is close to the coastal environment because of water, because of what it gives them. So this project, aside from delivering tourism, is going to help almost all the agro businesses, help manufacturing industries, it's just like a value chain. You have trade line that can move goods and services, then you have the roads that can also take people and take trucks that are moving things. So when it comes to agriculture and all this other value add that we're saying, as long as, okay, let me use the Lagos-Ibadan rail for example. It was supposed to take both passengers and cargo. So in Moniya in Ibadan, where it is, where the bus stop is, we're supposed to have quite a lot of warehouses where companies store everything they do. Go to Moniya, I can tell you, maybe they were selling land around that place, maybe 100,000, 300,000 some years back. Immediately the railway terminated there. Go and see what the price is like. Everybody trying to take position, because right from Apapa to Butemeta, you will see, because I used to say, if you carry passenger in the morning, can you carry goods in the evening, at night? Let them just get there. You see, we might not know the importance of all these things until they start to happen. But when they happen, that is when you will see the value add. That's why I just say, state governments in all these 10 states that is going to pass through, can you begin to take position? Can you begin to find yourself connecting to where this thing is going to stop, rather than just sit down and allow people talk anyhow? The federal government is doing its own. It's for states to say, in my own state, this is how I'm plugging in, this is how I'm plugging in, this is how I'm plugging in. So it's a concerted effort. Trying to separate and trying to make any... We'll get there. No problem.
All right, our time is up, even while the conversation is starting to get interesting, but I mean, we work with time. So this is the point where I say thank you so much, Mr. Peters, for coming on the show. You know, just from your last submission, I was going to say, shouldn't there be like a round table at this point with the governors of these 10 states to have a conversation on how we intend to drive this further? But of course, we'll get the opportunity to get to that point eventually. Thank you once again for dropping by. We appreciate your time. It is iBrand Daybreak. Congratulations to the Super Falcons. We made it, qualified for the Paris sporting event, Olympics. Thank you so much. Coming up soon, the girls always do us proud. But of course, we'll be having Dennis Ofik come talk about all of that with us after this quick timeout. Do stay with us.